Today we're talking about pre-performance routines, which in basic terms means making sure that you are ready mentally and physically when you hit the track. You've got to make sure you're at your best, you're primed, because you've done all that work up to that point, and the last thing we can do is let you underperform because you're not really feeling it. Your responsibility, one of many responsibilities, is to make sure that you are absolutely ready when it's battle time. When it's time to go into that race, you're switched on. When it's time to do that qualifying, you're switched on. Every single time you hit the track, you are switched on and aligned. Every single part of you is aligned with the goal. You've got to make sure you're the kind of person that can achieve what you have in mind. You'll see drivers, riders, footballers, boxers, tennis players, basketball players, and even singers doing some kind of pre-performance routine, making sure that they really are in tune with what's coming up next. As you walk through the paddocks now, before a session, you can see drivers doing all sorts of different things, jumping rope, skipping, playing with the tennis balls, actually playing tennis or paddle in the actual paddock itself. All sorts of things, jogging, meditating, visualizing. There's all this going on. So it can get a little bit confusing because you're not sure what you should be doing. And you're kind of just doing it because, yeah, everyone else is. My trainer tells me to do it. It just feels like pretty good, so I do it. Well, I want to make sure that you finish this video with a clear plan of what you're going to do, what works for you, so you can go out and experiment. Because the one thing for sure is that when you go out on track, you expect the engine to be warmed, the gearbox to be warmed up. You're trying to warm the tires up before it's go time. No different to you. Absolutely no different. Your go time starts pretty much when you're leaving the collection area. That's when you have to really start, warming up the tires, doing all these things, getting traffic management sorted. That's when you have to already be on. You haven't got time to warm up while you're out there. So you do it before, about 20 minutes before getting into the car. You make sure that your internal engine, physically and mentally, is all fired up and ready to go and aligned. So we need to make sure that you do the best thing for you, because every single person is different. You're unique. And to do that, to design your own pre-performance routine, we got to know first what you want to achieve. And when I say that, I don't mean just the result on track. Brilliant, I want to win. Okay, right, let's bring it back from that. What sort of person have you got to be? What mindset have you got to be in to make sure that you stand a good chance at getting that goal? The one you have when you go on track. And that's what we need to know first. How do I want to be mentally when I'm on track, when I'm in that car and I'm out there? Some drivers want to be calm and focused. So that's their goal before they go out. Others need to raise the intensity because they're too laid back and they're just being bullied out there. So they need to go, right, I need to be more aggressive. I need to make sure I go out there on the front foot. Where other drivers just want to be very clear on the objectives that they've got to actually achieve out there. The little mini goals where it's driving on certain corners, how to drive certain corners and the corrections. And they just want to know that before they go out. So everybody's kind of different. But you should know by now, if not, I want you to work on this, by the way. You should know by now what your peak state is. How is your mindset, your internal, all working when you're at your peak, at your best? Go back to the different victories you had. Go back to the different times on the track where you have really been on fire and felt good. And everything's just flowing and you're in the rhythm. That's the person you need to bring. You need to beckon and create, actually, before you go out on track. Because you spend a long time, right, in between sessions, sometimes like 5, 6, 7 hours from practice to qualifying. You've done nothing. And it's quite difficult to just be at your prime, like at your best, at your peak when you go out there for qualifying. So you need to create that. You need to have this pre-performance routine that creates that person, and then you set them on their way to go and achieve the goals that you've got for them, which is really you. So we need to do that. You need to make sure you know exactly what that person looks like, how they think, and create them within like a 5-minute window. You've got to create that person. You've got to come up with something that does that. That's what a pre-performance routine is. Then we get to work. We can use all sorts of different things. On the mental side, because that's all we're really talking about at the moment, there's visualization. You've got taking all the different driving corrections you've been told and simplifying them down, chunking them down to 1 or 2 things you want to do. So you're freeing up the mind. You have a goal that you really want to execute on. Maybe it's just one. And that's all I want to remind myself before I go out there. And that tunes in the brain with the kind of person you got to be. Or you could be meditating. There's all sorts of different things you can choose from, and you probably do already, to make sure that in your pre-performance routine, so at least mentally, you're on fire, you're aligned, you're switched on. Then on the physical side, we have stretching, which is obviously a good starting point. Stretching all the muscles and every part of the body that you're going to use. Breathing exercises to get the oxygen in. That equals energy, but it also can calm the mind. Anyone who does yoga knows exactly what the breath work does to the mindset. So when it comes to the physical side, you just got to feel like you've warmed everything up, that you feel like the system is actually fired up, blood's passing through, oxygen's going through, and that is in a good place. Just before you start to have a little bit of sweat. So you don't want to do too much work because you don't want to be knackered when you get out there, but waking yourself up along with doing the mental work I've just said, you're going to be ready. To give you an example of what I do with drivers right now, and I probably have forever to be fair, first off, we start off with the stretchy bands. These bands are used to stretch every muscle that's going to be needed for that particular car or that session. And then once we've done that, we do that for probably 3-4 minutes. So every muscle's done, happy, right? You're there. Straight away, you can see the driver. If they've done this a lot, they know that when we start to stretch, that it's time for competition. So the mind is already firing up saying, I know what comes next. And that's the side benefit, a pre-performance routine. Not only are you getting everything ready, but the mind knows what's coming and it can easily access the person that it needs to be or the state of mind it needs to be in. Then we move to the tennis balls, starting off with just one, passing it to each other, what I call ups, hitting the ball to each other and not letting it drop. So underarm, hitting it up. And we do that for like a minute or so. And then we change to hitting the ball on the floor. So you're doing it like tennis. So it's hitting the floor to each other, it bounces once and you're keeping the ball going. And then the third stage of the tennis balls is we use 2 at a time. So 2 balls, hitting them towards each other on the floor, only one bounce, and then you're really starting to use your hand-eye coordination. Balls are going everywhere, so you have to have good reactions. And then the driver will do something different for them, something specific for them. Some might go for a very, very short jog. I'm talking like 15 seconds. Just a short jog, clearing their minds, doing nice breathing exercises. Others will go and visualize a lap, whilst others will talk to me about the corrections that they're actually going to make out there on the driving line. I'm going to go deeper into turn 10. I say, talk me through the game plan. And we can even do this while we're playing with the ball, smacking the ball to each other. So it's all tailored to the person, individual person. But really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them to stretch their muscles, get a bit of fast twitch going on, bit of cardio, and have the mind clear on the objectives that they've got when they go out there. And if you kind of tick all these boxes, then really we are saying that this driver is ready. There's not much else to do. So I want you to get yours down and make sure that you're really happy with it. And you can do it anywhere. And it doesn't take much really. You just got some stretchy bands and tennis balls and that's it. You don't need to take loads of kit with you. Unless your trainer does that for you, then perfect. They'll have their own thing. They'll say, right, these muscles are the ones you need to prioritize. So brilliant. Let your trainer do that for you. But make sure you spend time on aligning the mind with what's coming up. Because to be honest, if you go out there and you're not quite physically warmed up, but the mind is switched on, you're still going to do good. And on the opposite side of that, if you are physically warmed up, but the mind's not ready, it's nervous, it doesn't know what to do, hasn't really got clear on its objectives, I'd say that's worse. So really, this is for mind first, and use the body to get that warmed up and to assist in helping the mind getting where it needs to be. Once you've got it, stick with it. Maybe tailor it a little bit, but once you've really got it down, you don't need to change it forever. And it becomes your trigger for battle time. So really take this seriously. Next time out, start to think to yourself, what is it I need to do? What have I got to warm my body up for? And what have I got to tell my head to think about so I can be at my best? I need to create the mindset needed for me to really be able to execute out there. And play with it, experiment. Sometimes you'll go too far. Sometimes you'll say, you know what, I was too angst. I had so much energy going through me. I was way too aggressive. I've got to calm this down. This is all about finding your peak state and then having a pre-performance routine that brings it in so you can go and do what you can do.